Musica was released on April 4th on Prime Video. To summarize the film, Rudy's on the verge of graduating college, and he wants to make his mom happy, his girlfriend Haley happy, and generally speaking, since there was some trauma in his childhood, Rudy has always been someone who's tried to avoid conflict. In an effort to avoid conflict, oftentimes Rudy will space out and begin to hear music. So if it's his girlfriend trying to push them into getting a place, if it's his mother Maria making things awkward for him in some ways, so begins the music of him hearing tapping or other noises and it becoming not a song, because a lot of music that Rudy hears doesn't have lyrics, but you definitely hear a melody begin to form. This is all very normal for him until he meets Isabella. And unlike Haley, Isabella is not only Brazilian like Rudy and his mom, but also someone who actually tries to understand Rudy's zoning out. It tries to get him to focus in a way that's not guilting him or damning him for becoming distracted or kind of zoning out, but understanding that this whole zoning out thing is a stress response. And with that, you see a very weird gray area as you see Rudy fall in love with the potential and possibilities of being with Isabella while trying to mourn, if not sometimes revive, his relationship with Haley, which seems at the end. And then throw in that Rudy is torn between leaving Newark, New Jersey, with like Haley wants to, or staying and really finding more beauty in it with Isabella. A lot of things are pulling at Rudy, and Adam, he has to figure out what he's gonna do with his life since he's graduating soon, so you can't use school anymore as an excuse of slowing things down. A lot's going on. So get into the notable highlights. First and foremost is the transitions and set design. And with this, you can really see that Rudy, the director, co-writer, star, he came from the YouTube world. For the way things cut, the way the transitions are, you see a lot of techniques and methods that are done through people who had to build themselves up on the platform. And as things go on, you see this scene where it's almost like watching a musical at a stage that has been upgraded to modern times, as we see him go from one date to another. His mom talked to him, and it's all, I'm assuming, in one shot, and it all just seems so intricate in a way that it kind of reminds me of the movie Birdman, if you ever saw it, but at the same time, as interesting as it is, it kind of gives me almost that Star Trek, Star Wars, or WWE/WWF vibe, where as cool as it is, in order to maintain the magic, you don't want to know how it was done. You just want to be able to enjoy it and just be in a wow of all that Rudy is trying to display in terms of how, in him being pushed to control more of his life, is creating a conflict between the fantasy world that he created and reality. And with these transitions and cuts, you can see that they're kind of conflicting with each other and either trying to merge, or one is trying to go back to one being dominant over the other. The next notable highlight thus is that this is a different kind of musical. Most musicals, they try to explain things away in lyrics, and you have random moments which kind of take you out as somebody starts singing. This is different because it uses the music around Rudy. It takes the tapping of someone's shoe, utensils in the restaurant, people cooking if you can be close enough to the kitchen, or people play basketball and etc. And that becomes music. That becomes what kind of interrupts the moment or kind of hushes a moment. And in many ways, again, because you know that all of this is based off of Rudy seeing his father be abusive to his mother, it's understandable. It's not something that's random or, made to be something quirky. It's something that you can imagine somebody's response to different type of stresses or issues would actually have. And with that, you don't find yourself forgiving the moments which interrupt the scene, but you see them being part of it, especially as you come to realize that whether it's Isabella, Maria, or Haley, Rudy doesn't know how to say no. He has long allowed each of the women in his life to really pull the strings. And on top of not wanting to have a conflict with them, he doesn't want to disappoint them. He doesn't want to hurt them. So all he can do is just do what we're often told to, or often hear men supposed to do, is just shut up and go along with the plan. So for the first regular highlight, it's definitely Rudy and Isabella, and it's when we talk about romance, relationships in movies, oftentimes it's a topic of, do the actors have chemistry, or are they just two attractive people paired together? In the case of Música, you can see why Rudy, the actor, and Camilla, the person who plays Isabella, are in a relationship in real life. From the banter, the way they look at each other, all of it gives you like butterflies, makes you potentially envious if you're single. And they also share moments where, since this is supposed to be based off of Rudy's life, it feels like there's almost a vibe of, if this person, in this case, Camilla, was in that moment, this is what she would have done for Rudy, as opposed to what may have happened or what she was told. If not, her reenacting moments in bringing it so that you can be part of it. Like one situation that was really beautiful to me, even though it was very simple, is that Rudy just got shot. You'll find out why in the movie. And so comes a conversation somehow that leads to Camilla's mom going to Brazil and not coming back. You can see after Rudy kind of stumbles with the conversation that he kind of floats away and starts hearing the beat of the heart monitor, the shuffle of cards and everything, and that becomes melody. Yet just through the gentle gesture of her taking his head into her hands and having him focus on her, it gave you a moment that was about not her being frustrated with him, angry that he wasn't listening to her, or maybe even feeling like there's not something there because he can't handle her when she's not being fun and flirty. Instead, her trying to get him to focus and not trail off, it seemed like a sign that she understood that when it comes to his, I think it's called synesthesia or something like that, probably pronounced it wrong, that she understands that he has this condition. The condition may be bigger than just, maybe his brain chemistry. And so if she likes him, can potentially love him, she's going to have to find ways to keep him in their world instead of allowing him to just float off to his world whenever things make it a little bit uncomfortable, challenging, or etc. The next highlight is going to be Maria, who is played by Rudy's actual mom. And I don't know if her lines were written, if they were ad-libbed, or what, but I will say that it's frustrating to look up her IMDb and see this is the only thing she's done, and probably might be the only thing she does, because the timing, the jokes, how she interacts with Rudy. While you don't want any actor to be typecasted, I would love to see Maria play somebody else's mom in a movie, because if this is what they're like in the household, if this is all inspired by the way she acts already, imagine her in different scenarios with different actors who she can play off of and be in this way. It would be classic. The next highlight bus is surprisingly JB Smooth, and I only say surprisingly since outside of Pootie Tang, I can't recall ever laughing at anything JB Smooth has said. Mind you, I mostly know his work in scripted productions. I don't know if he's maybe funny as a stand-up comic, but nevertheless, Smooth was very comical, and truly, the writers of this film found some way to tap into his style and really bring out the best in him that I don't think too many seem to have the ability to do. Which leads to the last highlight. Rudy's puppet is named Diego, and if you watch the actual Rudy, you would recognize this puppet because it's literally a part of his brand, for lack of a better term. But what makes things interesting with this film is that alongside Rudy kind of drifting off and hearing melodies all around him, sometimes he'll also speak to Diego as some means of having tough conversations about situations that he's in. And again, you can see it's part of him dealing with his trauma and everything, but it also leads to a lot of comical moments, especially since as much as you have to appreciate Rudy's relationship with Anwar, who is JB Smooth, Anwar is about 35 to 40, and while in real life, Rudy is about 32 now, when we're introduced to him in the film, he's just getting out of college. We're not told about gap years or anything, so we're assuming he's in his early 20s talking to this 35 to 40-year-old guy, and while Anwar is cool, he's also not necessarily in the same place that Rudy is, and may not have the same life, so he's not the best person to talk to. Also, he doesn't criticize. He flip-flops on almost every other thing he says, which doesn't really help Rudy, especially dealing with, thinking whether or not he should work it out with his ex or move on to this new thing, which seems like it might be good for him. So when it comes to the puppet and their conversations, it's almost like Diego is supposed to be some manifestation of Rudy's father if he wasn't a bastard. And I won't say that it's his process to heal issues or anything like that, but again, it just makes for comical moments. And granted, some of the jokes that I've done with Diego, specifically when Rudy's performing on the subway, they're not that great, but I still feel like there's a special place for Diego in this film, and bringing that puppet along to Rudy's feature film is definitely to honor how far the character has taken him. Which leads to the last topic, which is an on defense topic, and that's just the love triangle. In my mind, Isabella is overwhelmingly somebody that you would want Rudy to be with. Haley, the main thing Haley got over Isabella is the fact that Haley comes from money, but the caveat about that is the way Haley's family is painted. They're ignorant to the point where either they're willingly racist or just so ignorant that they don't fully understand how prejudiced half the things they say and do are. And you don't want to see him go through that. Rudy clearly has been through enough trauma already that being with this rich girl, it's only going to lead to more problems. And this isn't to discount that, they've been together for years and everything, but with the way we've seen Rudy live his life, more than likely she initiated. He never got the ability or desire, well, he probably had a desire, but he never got the ability to say no or break up with her, so he was on autopilot. And if she never decided that, she wanted more from him and got frustrated with him trailing off, Isabella would never came around or been somebody Rudy would have pursued. So the love triangle thing was really weak and honestly made it so the longer it lasted, the more you worried about whether Rudy and Isabella would end up together. And again, considering how good they were together, it becomes immensely frustrating as time goes on. Overall, while the romance sometimes suffers from being, like many, that feels a little too male-centered, that makes it so that when there's a love triangle, it seems a little too much toward one end, and you're just forced into frustration as you know this other person's going to ruin everything that's going on with this other side. I feel like Musical isn't just more content for Prime Video, but definitely something that justifies your subscription, whether it's monthly or yearly. For it feels not only like a culmination of what Rudy Mancuso has been doing up till now, but it also feels like a peak in his career that makes you wonder what's going to come next as he builds toward his next production.